time to move on from the introductory videos, time to start coding. So let's start a new project. If you're just coming from the introductory video about installing Python and PyCharm, you've already done this. But in case you're coming from a different route, I'm going to start a new project. I'm going to call it Turtletail or anything you want, really. We tend to avoid spaces in names, so that's why there's the underscore there. Stick with the default, create. And that is the PyCharm environment. I'm going to go for full screen. And we've created the project. My advice is pick one project for the whole course, a Turtletail. But within it, we're going to need many files. So I'm going to open the sidebar to make sure that Turtletail, the name of my project, is selected. Go for new ... not project, we've done that already. New ... and Python file. The one that says Python file rather than the one that says file means that the file is going to be created automatically has the right extension. It makes life simpler for us. Getting started. Once again, we tend to not use spaces. You can if you want, but it's best not to. And there we go. I'm going to close the sidebar and I have a Python file ready for me to start writing code. You can see the .py extension. That's the extension how your computer knows that this is a Python file. Ready to start. And my first question is, what is coding? Now, you might be thinking, we're here to learn how to code, but of course we know what coding is. And I'm sure you do, but let me give you my perspective of what coding is, because I think it helps us get into the right mindset. Coding is a form of communication. Not that different from how humans communicate with each other, how I am communicating with you at the moment. But with coding, we're communicating with a computer. And therefore, even though there are similarities, there are also key differences. And this is part of the challenge of coding. It's learning how to think and solve problems and communicate in a way that's very different to how we are used to doing it with other humans. Let's look at some similarities. First of all, being able to communicate is not the same as knowing a language. Think of the best communicators, human-to-human communicators. What makes them good communicators is not just their knowledge of English or whatever language they're communicating in. Yes, that's important, having a wide vocabulary, using the right grammar, that matters, but that's not enough to make a good communicator. It's about taking complex ideas that you want to tell your audience and breaking down those ideas in ways, in small bits that are linked together in a sensible way. And then, yes, finding the right words, using the right grammar to communicate those things. Coding is the same. Learning Python is not the same as learning to code. You can learn lots of words in Python and the grammar of Python. And that's great, it's important, we have to do it. But that's not what coding is, it's part of what coding is. Coding is about having an idea. In this case, the idea is you want your computer to do something for you. That's what a computer program is, right? The computer is doing something that's useful for you. You have an idea of what that something is. How do you tell your computer what to do step by step? Before you can write it down, you need to break down your idea into small steps. Make sure they're linked together in a sensible way. Very similar to how good communicators give speeches or communicate, a good teacher communicates in a class. A good programmer needs to first have a clear idea of what he or she is thinking, break down that idea, and then, yes, translate those ideas into Python or whatever programming language we're using. So that's the what is coding part. Now let's start by having a look at we still need the language, we still need Python. And because Python is a language, it must have words. That's where we need to start. If we don't know any words, we can't communicate, no matter how clear our ideas are. Let's try it out. I'm going to try hello. Is hello a word in Python? You can probably guess there from the red underline. Red is never a good sign, right? So this is not Python here. This is PyCharm, the software I'm using, which is telling me there is something wrong. But let's pretend we haven't seen this. Let me run this code that simply has the word hello, nothing else. So I'm going to go to the run menu. You can see there is run getting started there, but sometimes the first time it's not there. So if it's not there, just go for run ... and then you can click getting started. And now we've run this code. And unfortunately, we get a red error message at the bottom. Ignore words you don't understand for now. We'll get to them. But what matters here is that on line 1, well, of course, we only have one line in our code, but on line 1, name error. name hello is not defined. It's actually asking us, did you mean help? No, I didn't mean help. I meant hello. But hello is not a word in Python. So Python is telling us, I do not know how to proceed. You've told me a word that I do not understand. Therefore, I'm going to stop and give you an error. You can try this as an exercise. Try a few words from English and see whether you can find any of these Python words. Good morning. Let's try good. Is good a word in Python? Incidentally, to run your code, you can always go to this run getting started, but you may want to learn the shortcut. It's going to be different on different computers. That tells me what shortcut I need to use. So from now on, I'm going to use the shortcut on my keyboard. Good is not defined. How about Python? The name of the language itself, run. Name Python is not defined. Imagine if English weren't a word in the English language. Well, Python is not a word in the Python language. Why? Because the language doesn't need to know its own name. It's not relevant. We only need words that are relevant to get the computer to do something. Now, if you do try this as an exercise, try lots of words. And if you're brand new to Python, you may know, if you've done a bit of Python, you know some words here. But if you're brand new to Python and to coding, you may not be able to find a single word where you'll run it and it doesn't tell you name whatever is not defined. And the reason for this is not that Python doesn't have many words. It's that most of the words that Python has exist somewhere else. Now, we call these modules, but I'm going to tell you the picture I like to imagine this. I like to imagine Python as having, one of those big old-fashioned libraries with high ceilings and books covering every bit of the wall from floor to ceiling. So I like to think of Python as having one of these libraries somewhere else. And each book in this library contains lots of words. They're all themed. So you'll have a book that has words to do with random stuff. And for everything you might want, there is a book that has words in it. And the way we ask Python to fetch one of these books from this imaginary library is using import. You can see that import is not underlined in red. There is a red squiggly line after it because we haven't finished the line, but import itself is fine. In fact, it's even changed color to blue on my one. So import means go to this library and fetch a book. And the book we're going to fetch to start with is a book called Turtle. This is one of many books in the Python library. This course is called A Turtle Tale. As you can guess, we're going to be using this book a lot. I'll tell you what's in this book in a bit. But what this line does, let me run this code. And hooray, no error message at the bottom. Can you see there? It didn't do anything, but it didn't tell us I didn't understand any of these words. So this code has worked. What has it done? Even though I can't see anything. Python went to this library, looked where the T is, found the book named Turtle, brought it in, and imagine it's on your desk now in front of you. So there's a book labeled Turtle. So whenever we want to use the book, we can say, the Turtle book, can you pick it up and open it? So now we have this book there. So what? What's inside this book? This book, the Turtle book, it's called a module, right? So it's not really a book, but bear with me. I'm painting a picture here. Contains words that allow us to draw things on the screen in Python in an easy way. So the words in this book are words that will allow us to use graphics in a nice and easy way. And we're going to be using the Turtle module all throughout this course because it's going to be the tool we're going to use to learn how to code in a very visual way. So how does it work? We need to create this thing which is called a turtle. Whoever made this, in fact, the turtle module in Python, the turtle concept predates the turtle module in Python. It comes from before Python even. Whoever created this tool for us to learn how to code, imagine a turtle crawling, and we're going to get the turtle to go forward, turn left, turn right, and wherever it goes, it draws a line. Now you might think this sounds very simple. It is, but we're going to make some very interesting things with Turtle, not just simple drawings. Animations and games. Our programs will get more and more complex, even using this simple module. So we need to create this turtle, and we need to give it a name. Now, giving something a name is an important concept in all of coding, not just naming our pet turtle. But for the time being, let's go for Fred. And you can see that Fred is underlined in red. We know what that means. Let me run this code. On line 3 now, name Fred is not defined. So Python is again telling me, I have no idea what this name Fred is. I don't know what it is or who it is. Incidentally, the blank line is not important, right? I'm just putting it in. You'll see in a bit why I sometimes skip a line. It's a bit like when you start a new paragraph when you're writing in English. So Fred doesn't exist, but let's start learning some of the Python grammar. The equals is a way of telling Python, it's okay, I'm going to tell you what this name means. I'm going to give a meaning to this name. And in this case, I want Fred to be. Now remember the book we just brought from library? That's called Turtle. By the way, you may have noticed the software I'm using, PyCharm, and if you're using a different editor, you will have a similar tool. The moment I typed in T, it's giving me lots of options. And if I type in U, it's narrowed down. This is the autocomplete feature. Use it for a number of reasons. First of all, it's going to make coding quicker because you don't have to type as much. Secondly, you're less likely to make a spelling mistake. Thirdly, if you don't remember a command, that menu will help sort of jog your memory. So I'm simply going to press return there. Now, Turtle is the book we brought from library with all the commands. I do not want Fred to be the book. Instead, I want to open this book. That's what the dot is doing in this case, right? It's opening the book. And from inside the book, I want the command called also Turtle. Although notice there's a difference. There's a capital T. And these things matter in Python. Uppercase, lowercase, they have a meaning. For a while, we're not going to see many uppercase letters. This is one of the few exceptions. That's because we're creating a turtle. So the capital T shows that this is a thing we're creating. And then I've added parentheses or brackets at the end. This is also a punctuation mark or Python notation that we're going to see a lot of. For the time being, I'll tell you what it does here. The brackets, the round brackets, the parentheses say, I want you to do this command now. So create a turtle now. And you might say, well, isn't that obvious? No. In Python, nothing is obvious. This simply says, do you know the command turtle that creates a turtle? And if I run this code, Python says, yes, I do. So what? The parentheses say, I actually want you to do the command and create the turtle. If I run it now, you may have seen something flash very briefly on my screen. Let me do it again. 3, 2, 1. Something has happened, but we couldn't see what is happening. We'll leave this for the next video where we're going to start building on this and trying to understand what is happening with every line of code we're writing.